Before I move on to the next exercise, I just want to throw a little curveball in here. We have our little maintenance program. We're going to extend it in a minute to make it even nicer. Well, first of all, I'm going to do 3 things in this maintenance program, which are, again, not scripted, so we'll just see how we go. We talked about app styling, and Gordon talked about this, and he made changes to make things look nicer and different colours and all that kind of stuff. I'm just going to make some minor little changes. I'm going to change that one, and I'm going to change that one. Those 2 font values are for labels and text boxes, okay? Now, styles have not been implemented throughout the entire application. Okay, that's fine. Life is not perfect. So if we look in the overview list, which is XAML, in here, we don't see anything in here because there's just a grid, and grids are just empty. Well, I suppose you see the columns. Here the grid and the headers and all that kind of stuff. What I can do on here, and I can find the end of it, one of the problems is that there's hardly any real estate on the screen, but never mind. So if I set font size there to 18, well no, let's stick to 20, pardon? Do I not have to change my grid height? Stop being so clever, you. You mean in? There you go. 35? Okay, that's just a standard input grid height. Let's just run it and see what happens. I'm not going to say, you know, this is going to look perfect, but hopefully it'll be a little bit bigger and you'll get to be able to see a little bit more. Well, that's got bigger, but those don't seem to have got bigger. But the spacing has. Okay, we can live with that. What I want to do though, while we're in here, if we create a new one, first of all it says image not found, that's fine, that's in that converter we wrote to protect against null images. The barcode and the artist and the title have all gone red. Why have they gone red? They've gone red because we've coded into the style that invalid fields should be rendered differently. Okay? That's not you lot telling us how to colour them, that's you lot saying this field's in error, and it's you lot deciding that you're going to put a bit of a red background in there. And if you hover over one, you'll get a tooltip that says non-blank 0, non-zero required. Okay? Which is basically the toolkit validation that's saying we'd like you to enter something. And they're all the same. Now if I enter a value, for example, I'm not going to pretend to even be able to read that. So I'm just going to make a value up and do tab. Oh, all well and good that the field is now valid because it's got data in it. That doesn't mean it's valid because it doesn't exist in the data file, so it could go in the data file. It just means the data object has worked out that you've got data in there. It's not validated that the data is valid according to your database, because a data object doesn't know anything about your database, be that a SQL database, an ISAM database, a flat file, or an XML. It doesn't know anything about it. You inject the data into the data object and it works it out from there. But given the rules that we've defined in the repository, and you can extend those rules customizable, that data object field property is now valid. And the data object itself isn't, and that can be evident from the value from this down here. It's not very clear at all, but there is actually a save button next to the cancel button. You can't see it, but it is there. Now notice again, I need to put a valid one in. I'll tell you what, let me cancel that, let's start again. Let's put in new. So let's put in 008811164614. Everybody agrees that should come up with BB King like it did yesterday. Yeah? But it hasn't done. Which I'm quite happy with. So I'd have to put BB King in here. And in here I'd put a title. And when I tab off this, if we keep our eyes around this little bit round here, when I tab off, the save button becomes visible, enabled, what have you. And that's now enabled because the data object is valid. Again, it doesn't mean it's valid according to what's in the data. It just means as an entity, that data object passes all the validation rules that you've given it. Okay? But the biggest problem was then, it didn't find the BB King. Well, we've not actually coded anything to say go off to Google and do a search. So we'll do that in a minute. But there's 4 albums here, and we have this information in here, and I want to get rid of them. But maybe I don't want to use my little noddy program. Maybe I want to just run something that's totally generic. So I'm going to have a plug for the Synergy DBMS Manager here. Synergy DBMS Manager, that data object that we code generated and that table mapper that we code generated is all you need for this program to run and work. So this assembly is our assembly that we've just code generated, which is there. And inside it, we can select the table mapper to tell it how to map the tables. And I can log in. Notice there's no server name and no server port. There was yesterday because we were talking to the remote Azure server. But we're not now, we're talking local data. So if I do a select star from vinyl details, it brings me back all the records. Let's get rid of the image URL. So I'm selecting barcode, artist, title and cost price from the vinyl details. What we want to be able to do through the app is to determine, do we have these albums or not? So for example, we've got this Simon Garfunkel. I'm going to pretend like I did at the weekend, I'm going to buy this later on. So I can say in here, artist like Simon. Okay? So I can filter on that and it's brought back Simon, Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel, and Paul Simon again. That's the one I want to delete. So let's change this to Garfunkel, or Garth. Okay? When I scan this or enter this on my phone, I want to pretend we don't have it in our database. Now I could use our maintenance program to delete it, but that's boring. So in here, I'm going to do delete from vinyl details were artists like Garth. And I hit F5. Well, I'll not hit F5, I'll hit the do me button. Okay? And down here, you can see it says results, one item deleted. Okay? So now I can say select star from vinyl details where artists like Garth, and I'll get nothing back. So we can maintain and manage data using SQL syntax in our ISAM files using the SDBMS Manager. I'll keep BB King. Oh no, I'll delete BB King as well. Have we got L? Have we got LE? So let's put King in there. L King, love stuff. Yeah, I'll keep that because I've always had that one. I brought that one from home. Because I want some of them to come up and say, yes, you've got them in your collection, and some you haven't. So have we got Motorhead? No, okay, I'm going to buy that one. We did have BB King in there, didn't we? Yeah, BB King. So 2 of these are going to come back later on when we do the phone app to say you've got them, and a couple of them are going to say you've not got them. And hopefully if they've not got them, they'll go and do a Google search. But that's just an example of the sort of stuff that you can do. And you can do modifications to records through this and inserts and all that kind of stuff. So that's just a quick plug for that said Wii program.